Our story today is called The Mitten, and it's written or adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. Adapted means that this is a story that's actually quite old, and Jan has rewritten it in her own way. She's a really amazing author, and she draws beautiful pictures that are so fun to look at. The mitten belongs to a little boy named Nicky, and there are 8 animals here who are very interested in that mitten. And during our story, we're going to see something really special that Jan does in lots of her books. She has a main picture, and then she has 2 side pictures. And whenever we introduce a new animal to the picture, I'm going to show you what sound that animal makes. So let's start our story. Here we see Nicky's grandma, and she's got a spinning wheel. With a spinning wheel, she can take the wool from a sheep, and she can spin yarn. And that's just what she's going to use to make Nicky's mittens. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandmother Baba did not want to knit white mittens. "If you drop one in the snow," she warned, "you'll never find it." But Nicky wanted snow-white mittens, and finally Baba made them. After she finished, she said, "When you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look to see if you still have your snow-white mittens." So Nicky went off, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Do you see where he dropped his mitten? And here is our very first animal coming along. That animal is called a mole, and here is how he sounds. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. Oh, but somebody else is coming along. It's a rabbit, and here's a sound that rabbits can make. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in feet first. The mole didn't think there was enough room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. And who is our next little animal coming along? It looks like a hedgehog. Let's see what kind of a sound a hedgehog makes. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for something to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. And here is our next animal. It's an owl. And here are some sounds that owls make. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, those are his claws, they quickly let him in. And here's our next little animal coming out from under a tree. He looks like a badger. What sound does a badger make? Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not pleased. There was no room left. But when they saw his diggers, they gave him the thumb. And here comes our next animal, a fox. Let's hear what sound a fox makes. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave the fox lots of room. And here comes our next animal, a big brown bear. Do you know what sound a bear makes? Can you make a bear noise? A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. What's the next little animal coming by? A mouse. What sound does a mouse make? Let's listen. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the bear's great nose. Well, now there's no more animals coming, but I see Nicky, and he's noticed something. He's noticed that he only has one mitten. The bear, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Oh, 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 ka-choo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up into the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. And now what is she looking at? Those mittens are two different sizes. She must be wondering what on earth happened to that one mitten. But they'll never know, will they? Only we do.